I was standing on the only road into a luxury neighborhood at 3 in the morning, watching 60 tons of steel lower its blade into the asphalt when I finally understood how badly the HOA president had misjudged me. She thought I was a nobody she could bully, fine, and erase. What she didn't know, what she couldn't accept, was that the ground beneath her perfect heels had never belonged to her in the first place. The engine of my old Bronco ticked softly as it cooled, that familiar metallic sound filling the silence of the high desert. The sun was already brutal, even though it wasn't noon yet, beating down on the blacktop and making the air shimmer. I sat there for a moment, one hand on the steering wheel, the other holding a lukewarm coffee, watching condensation slide down the can. I wasn't in a hurry. I had learned a long time ago that when people are about to make a mistake, the worst thing you can do is interrupt them. That's when I saw her. She came marching toward my truck like she owned the horizon itself. Light blue suit tailored to perfection, heels clicking against the asphalt with sharp, angry little strikes. She didn't look at me, not really. She looked at my truck the way someone looks at trash left out on the curb too long. Something unsightly, something that needed to be removed. She stopped at my front bumper, pulled out a gold-accented pen, and rapped it hard against my hood. The metallic clack echoed across the canyon. "Move this rusted junk," she said, her voice loud, practiced, confident, "before I have it towed and fined for pollution. You can't just park your eyesore in my driveway." My driveway. She didn't wait for me to answer. She turned away, already lifting her hand to signal the tow truck idling 50 yards back, yellow lights spinning lazily in the sun. To her, the decision had already been made. I wasn't a person. I was an inconvenience. I opened the door. The hinge groaned long and rusty, and that sound made her flinch. Just a little, enough to notice. I stepped out slowly, boots hitting the pavement with a heavy thud. They were caked with red clay and dried mud, a sharp contrast to the pristine blacktop she was so proud of. I didn't apologize. I didn't introduce myself. I walked to the back of the truck, pulled out a tripod and a laser rangefinder, and set it up right in the middle of the road. "What do you think you're doing?" she snapped, spinning around. "I did not give you permission to set up camp. This is private property." "I'm Karina Draxler," she added, chin lifted, "president of the Obsidian Ridge Homeowners Association, and you are trespassing." I ignored her. I aimed the rangefinder at the massive marble gatehouse on the left. Beep. I wrote the number down. Then I swung it toward the decorative fountain on the right, spraying recycled water into the dry air. Beep. Another note. She stepped closer, invading my space, expensive perfume mixing with pure irritation. "Are you deaf?" I finally looked at her. Really looked. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, eyes sharp with the kind of entitlement that comes from never being told no. "You might want to hold off on calling that tow truck," I said calmly, "unless you want the sheriff to witness a federal eviction." She laughed. Short, sharp, disbelieving. "Eviction. You look like you sleep in that thing. Move your junk or I'll have it seized." She slapped a bright orange violation sticker onto my window. $5,000. Visual distress, it read. A power move. Public. Humiliating. I leaned against the truck right next to the sticker and crossed my arms. "Karina," I said, reading the name off her badge, "you have a structural problem." She scoffed. "I don't have time for this." "The land under this road," I continued, "was never transferred to your HOA. You bought houses, clubhouses, lawns, but you didn't buy this." Her smile faltered for half a second. Just enough. She called the sheriff anyway. 10 minutes later, 2 cruisers pulled up. Sheriff Prescott stepped out. Big man, bigger belt confidence dripping from every step. Karina rushed to him, already painting me as a vagrant holding her community hostage. "Sir," the sheriff said to me, hand resting near his sidearm, "you need to move along." I handed him the map. He squinted, then frowned, then went quiet. "This road," I said, keeping my voice steady, "is Unit 49B. Retained under an old industrial easement, never subdivided, never transferred. As of 3 days ago, it's mine." Karina exploded. "That's a forgery. Look at him. He's lying." The sheriff hesitated. And in that hesitation, I felt it, that shift. The moment power starts to slip. But Karina wasn't done. She wasn't the kind of person who backed down when things stopped going her way. She doubled down. She called private security. 4 men showed up later that afternoon in black SUVs. Tactical vests, no badges, all muscle and menace. They surrounded my truck, one of them slamming a flashlight into my window hard enough to spiderweb the glass. For the first time that day, my confidence wavered. I sat there, hands on my knees, engine off to save fuel, listening to them laugh outside my truck as the sun dipped below the canyon walls. Karina leaned in close, her face distorted through the cracked glass. "You see," she whispered, "you have nothing. No road, no friends, just a long night." And for a moment, I believed her. I thought about all the times I'd been wrong before, all the cases that had almost broken me. I wondered if I'd missed something, some clause, some buried detail that would make all of this blow back on me. I was tired. I was alone. And I was very aware that no one here wanted me to be right. I closed my eyes and asked myself the question I always ask when things get dark. Do you walk away, or do you finish what you started? I opened my eyes, reached for the radio mic, and spoke calmly. Unit 1 to Bravo Team, initiate Phase 3. They thought they were laying siege to me. They didn't realize I was stalling for time. At exactly 2:55 a.m., the ground began to tremble. At 3:00 a.m., the darkness shattered as floodlights snapped on blinding white beams cutting through the night. The men outside my truck stumbled back, shielding their eyes. And then they heard it. The low, guttural roar of a diesel engine under load. A Caterpillar D9 bulldozer crested the rise, 60 tons of yellow steel rolling forward like something out of a nightmare. An excavator followed behind it, hydraulic breaker gleaming. The men ran. Karina came screaming down the hill in a silk robe, hair a mess, panic all over her face. "Stop! You can't do this." I raised my hand. The bulldozer paused. "This is mining," I said evenly. "I'm accessing my property." The blade dropped. The sound of asphalt tearing apart echoed through the canyon. 10 years of luxury peeled back like cheap skin. The excavator dug deeper until there was a metallic groan, a hiss, and then a geyser of water exploded into the air. Mud rained down, directly onto Karina. She slipped, fell, clawed at the ground, screaming about her road, her suit, her authority, while fiber optic cables and power lines floated up from the trench like exposed veins. By the time the FBI arrived at dawn, it was already over. They didn't come for me. They came for her. Wire fraud, embezzlement, illegal leasing of utilities buried under land she didn't own. They put her in cuffs while her residents watched in stunned silence, stranded on their island of wealth. I stood there, boots muddy, truck window cracked, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. I drove away a few hours later across a temporary bridge past the empty gatehouse and the spot where she'd fallen. Some people build their power on rules and fear. Others build it on truth. And truth, sooner or later, always digs its way to the surface.